really shocking turn of events. I really love this actually. Hello, my name is Gabby, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing the final episode of reading Reese Witherspoon's book club picks for the year of 2024. So if you missed the first 2 episodes in this series, I will have them linked down below where I read the first 8 picks of the year, and in this last episode we're going to be reading her final 4 picks for the rest of 2024. So far this series has been going a little bit not as well as I had hoped. I started doing this series earlier this year because I am a really big fan of Reese Witherspoon. She's somebody that I've always looked up to, and I've always wanted to try to do this, to read every single one of her book club picks in an entire year. You know, before starting this project this year, I did have a number of books from her book club that I have previously enjoyed, as you can see on the screen here. I have had a lot of success, you know, with her book club picks in the past, but then I also had a lot of books that I've read from her book club that I didn't really care for or that I personally DNF'd. And then so far this year, just looking at the 8 book club books that I have read so far, I mean, I have found 2 new favorites of all time, like 2 books that I've given 5 stars that I absolutely loved. But then I also have had a few DNFs, and I had a lot of books that I gave 2 stars. It's actually weird because so far it's followed the same trend in both of these vlogs, where I give the first 2 picks 2 stars, I DNF the third one, and then the last book of the video is usually 5 stars. Like, it's followed the same pattern. So I'm just really curious to see if in this vlog, if we are going to follow the same pattern or if we're finally going to break the pattern. I'm hoping that we break the pattern because this time Reese Witherspoon actually does have a few different kinds of picks, because in this episode we are going to be reading some non-fiction books that she's picked for the first time this whole year. She hasn't had any non-fiction picks yet this year, so maybe that's going to be the thing that changes it up, because the first book that I'll be reading in today's video is going to be The Comfort of Crows, which this was her book club pick from back in September, and this pick was a really special pick for Reese's book club because this was actually her 100th book club pick that she's ever had for the book club. And what was cool and unique about this book is that it's a non-fiction book that was written by Reese's high school teacher. From what I understand, the woman who wrote this book actually taught Reese English in high school, which I think is so cool. I'm also going to be reading her pick from the month of October, which was actually Society of Lies by Lauren Ling Brown, and this one is the only thriller pick that she has left this year. And I was actually really excited to see when she selected this book because this is one of my most anticipated thrillers of the year. So I'm always so excited whenever there's some crossover with like stuff that I actually really want to read and it's stuff that she's actually picking for the book club. Like, that's amazing. And this is a thriller that takes place on a college campus. It follows 2 sisters. And then her pick for the month of November was another nonfiction book, and it was this one called We Will Be Jaguars. And this one is not only just a nonfiction, but it's also a memoir. It says that this is a memoir about indigenous childhood, a clash of cultures, and the fight to save the Amazon rainforest and protect her people. And then the final December pick for Reese's book club is this new book called City of Nightbirds. And this is another one that I'm really not that familiar with myself. I think this one is historical fiction. It's unclear to me if it is or if it isn't, but it follows this ballerina, and she's a dancer in Russia from what I understand. So those are the 4 picks that I'm going to be reading in today's video. I think this round should be really interesting because I'm actually reading a number of different books that I don't think I ever would have picked up on my own, just because they're a little bit outside of my comfort zone with like genre-wise and things like that. All except for Society of Lies, which I was already planning to read on my own, and this is the one I'm definitely looking forward to the most. But before we do jump into today's video, I just wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is Factor, because Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and it sets you up for success. Because with Factor, you can skip the grocery stores, you can skip the food prep and the cooking fatigue, and instead you can get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. They have over 35 meals to choose from each week, including some options like keto and calorie smart and vegan and veggie options as well. I love that each one of these meals is fresh food and it's never frozen, and it's ready to eat within 2 minutes. You can literally just pop one of these meals into the microwave for 2 minutes, or you can throw it in the oven for a little bit longer, and you have a meal that is ready to go. I can't tell you enough how much of a time saver this has been for me, especially because I'm somebody that doesn't always want to be thinking like, what am I gonna have for lunch today? What am I gonna eat for dinner? It can be a really stressful thing to try and think about food all the time, but Factor makes it so easy, and you can skip the overpriced takeout trap because Factor is more affordable and more delicious. I also really appreciate how flexible Factor is because you can change up the different meals that you're eating with Factor every week, and you can change how often you're getting the meals, and you can pause or reschedule your deliveries whenever works best for your schedule. One of my favorite things about Factor is having to go to the grocery store less because I hate spending time at the grocery store. It's always so overcrowded too at the grocery stores during the holidays, so I love knowing that I have dinner in the fridge ready to go. I don't have to worry about it. And if you didn't know, Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, so with a wide variety of meal plans to choose from, there really is something for everyone. I personally really love switching between the 2 brands, and now you can as well at a discount with me. So you can head to factor75.com or click the link down below and use my code 50GabbyReads Gabby Reads to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping on your first box with Factor. That's code 50GabbyReads at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box with Factor. What an amazing deal. Thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring today's video. And now let's get into the reading vlog. Hello, how's it going? I wanted to update you with the first thing because I have been listening to The Comfort of Crows. I'm now 63% of the way through the audiobook already. And I've only been listening to this one on audio. I was actually able to get this audiobook from my library. I'm not gonna lie, you know, this was definitely the one that I was the least excited to read out of these next 4 picks because like reading a nonfiction book about crows or like birds or like whatever's going on in her backyard, like it just did not sound like something that was going to interest me at all. I actually thought that I was going to DNF this one, which is why I didn't update you sooner, but I'm actually not hating this. This book is really interesting because it's a nonfiction book and it's 52 different chapters, and every single chapter is about the different things that are going on in this author's backyard, essentially. The premise of the book says the 52 chapters follow the creatures and the plants in her backyard over the course of a year. And so throughout the book, we're kind of moving through like, you know, the different seasons, and she's kind of explaining different stories, like whether that is about like her family or like her life or like things going on in her backyard. Something that I've been seeing in a lot of other people's reviews about this book is that in the physical copy, there's actually like a lot of illustrations included in the physical version of this book, and apparently the illustrations were done by the author's brother, which I think is so cool. So I do kind of wish that I had the physical copy so that I can see the illustrations and have like an even greater appreciation for, you know, what I'm reading. But the audiobook I think is pretty good. The narrator has like a really fun southern accent that I'm really enjoying. But I feel like there's something about this book, like, oh my gosh, if you had told me the premise, I would be like, that sounds so boring. Why would I want to read a nonfiction book about that? But honestly, there's something so like wholesome and kind of like refreshing about the writing. I don't know, because I feel like a lot of this book is about, you know, trying to look at things that have maybe like a certain reputation, right? Because she's talking about crows at the beginning of this book and how crows are like known as being like the symbol of death, or like crows are known for being kind of like dangerous, or like people don't see comfort when they look at crows. And so it's kind of like changing your perception on how you view things that you don't fully understand. Like, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to explain, but like the way that this book is written, it's just about looking at things that you might not fully understand and trying to like gain a deeper knowledge about something before you judge it. It's just written in this way that's really beautiful and really thoughtful. I think it's just one of those nonfiction books that reminds you that like there's beauty happening all around us every single day, and sometimes we just choose to ignore that, or like we're not always paying attention to the beauty that surrounds us. And it's really about like the small things, you know, like appreciating the little things in life, like a beautiful bird that happens to be in your backyard. God, I'm cringing at myself even talking about this book, but like there's just something about it. It's very inspiring. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are definitely some chapters that are hitting me harder than others. Like there are definitely some chapters that just kind of feel like pointless in my opinion, but there are some really beautiful chapters. Like I really love the ones that are very thought-provoking and feel very deep. I also do kind of love the fact that she's talking quite a bit about like the pandemic throughout this nonfiction book, and kind of like how that impacted her and her family, and how like her kids were like moving back home during the pandemic, and like how that changed their lives in a way. Like I don't know, there definitely is some more compelling like family stuff happening in this book as well. I just really didn't know what to expect with this one, and I'm kind of surprised that I'm not hating it. I don't often read nonfiction books, especially not nonfiction books about like nature like this. So this is definitely something that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone, and definitely not something I ever would have picked up on my own. But I am happy to say that so far it's been a pretty enjoyable experience. I think it's something that's actually perfect for me to read at this time of year, because she's kind of talking about how like during the winter months it's important to like, you know, slow down, because like so many animals go into like hibernation in the winter time, and like there's a reason for that, you know, because like when the seasons are changing, there's like a natural feeling of like you want to slow down in the winter time. And I'm definitely feeling that, you know, as we're entering the winter time of this year, when like the sun's going down so early and like my energy levels feel really low at this time of year. It's like a good reminder to just hear that like that's natural, like that's how your body's supposed to be feeling at this time of year, and like it's okay to feel that way. It's just very comforting. Like I know this book is called The Comfort of Crows, but I wasn't expecting this book to actually be comforting, you know? This afternoon, it's a Sunday right now, I'm thinking I might try to go to the gym in a little bit here, and so maybe while I'm at the gym I'll continue listening to this on audio.
What's the worst case scenario? Plan out in your head how it's all gonna go. So you think you got it covered, but there's always something new that you discover you've not thought about. You can never figure out every possible outcome, and you're so scared you'll get it wrong. good time, but I worry after. Petrified, will they think I'm awkward? When your brain's wired for disaster, even good things leave a bitter taste. Try to calm down, thoughts spinning faster. Terrified, hide it with laughter. When your brain's wired for disaster.
Hello, it is many hours later now, but I wanted to update you because I have finished reading The Comfort of Crows. And in a really shocking turn of events, I really love this actually. I don't usually rate nonfiction. I mean, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But this book, I feel like I do want to rate it. I want to give it like a 4.5 stars. It wasn't like the perfect 5-star book for me, but I gained so much from reading this. And I feel like this is like the biggest success for me so far with like reading Reese Witherspoon's book club picks, because this is like the only book I think that I would not have picked up on my own that I'm giving a high rating to so far this year. Because a nonfiction book about crows, like I literally never would have picked this up on my own, and I ended up loving this so much. And I feel like this is almost one of those books where I read this at the perfect time. Like I really needed this right now actually, because in my opinion this is the kind of really like feel good kind of nonfiction book that reminds you about like the beauty of life. There were so many passages that I literally had to like rewind the audiobook so I could write them down in my notes app because I like wanted to come back to certain quotes, like how she was always talking about the reminder that like change is always going to be coming in our lives and how we can't prevent the changing of the seasons and like the changing of our lives. She said change is almost always a source of dislocation and nothing prevents the passage of time. Time is ever passing not only when I notice. What lies before me is not all there is, and that raggedness is just the first step toward a new season of flight. Bitch, what the fuck? I re-listened to that part like 3 or 4 times just so I can jot down all of the words because I was like, wow, like that is so powerful and so moving. There was also a lot of talk about like, trying to embrace the things that we can't control, because I can be a little bit of a control freak, and I think the things that make me the most anxious in my life are the things that are out of my control, like the things that I wish that I could have some kind of control over and I just can't, and I have a hard time accepting that. And so I really loved and connected with that whole passage. Like there was a lot where she talked about like we have to try to embrace the things that we can't control, and when she says the wind teaches us in autumn, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it isn't there. Like there were just so many great moments like that that really made me think, and they were like thought-provoking and mindful. I also thought it was so funny because there was literally a whole section of this book where she was talking about how like people don't take Sundays off anymore and everybody still works on Sundays, and I was like, oh my god, I feel so called out right now because it's literally Sunday today. And like I also have this problem where like I don't allow myself to take a day off because I'm just very work oriented, and because being productive really makes me feel good. But like she was talking about how it's just not normal to like work that much, and how you should really only be giving yourself 6 days of the week to work, and then like you really should be giving yourself 1 day of rest every single week, whether that's on like the Sunday or like a different day. But the point is that you should have at least 1 day every week where you're like allowing yourself the time to rest. And that also really just like struck a chord with me, because I am somebody who like works for myself, and so because I'm my own boss essentially, like I am hardest on myself, and I don't usually allow myself to like take any days off, especially not once a week. And so it was just really interesting, and it was like a really good reminder to like hear that message that like it's okay to slow down, it's okay to take days off, it's okay to rest. Like we actually really need it. I just feel like I gained so much from this book, and it was actually so nice to listen to this. Like I feel like this book came to me at a moment in my life right now where I could really use this and I could really benefit from listening to this. I am just as surprised as you are that I want to give this 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed my time reading this, and we have broken the curse of like reading Reese Witherspoon books and giving them a 2-star at the beginning until we get to the end of the video. Like gosh, I mean, hopefully we can have another win in this video. That would be really great. I think I'm gonna start on Society of Lies tomorrow, so let's hope for the best. Hello, it is the next day, and I did want to update you because I have started reading Society of Lies. I just hit page 132 and I'm 25 chapters into the book already. I don't know, it's not going super well. I don't know, there's something about the writing that I'm finding to be so slow and kind of repetitive, and I'm just not really connecting with the characters in the way that I was hoping to. And so in this story, the main character that we're following, her name is Maya, and she is the older sister to this girl named Naomi, and they're actually 10 years apart. And right at the start of this book, she finds out out that her younger sister Naomi has died under kind of suspicious circumstances. They're saying that it was like an overdose and that she was like in the lake or whatever, but she kind of believes that there was something more sinister going on because she comes to find out that her sister, you know, like her younger sister was going to the same university and the same college that she went to 10 years ago, and she finds out that her sister was like involved in the same secret society that she was back in the day. And so in this book, we get Maya's point of view in the present day, but then we also get Maya's point of view in flashbacks of like when she was actually in college, and then we also get the younger sister Naomi's point of view about like 7 or 6 months before she died. So we're getting 3 kind of different timelines happening in the book. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit confusing sometimes to keep track of like the timelines and like who's who, because there's just been so many names being given to me. I mean, I've been taking notes on my phone trying to keep track of everybody, but like there's Liam, there's Ben, there's Pete, there's Amy, there's Z, there's Leah, there's Matthew DuPont, there's Daisy, Cecily, Kai, Alex. Like there's literally just so many characters, and I'm trying to keep track of them all. And I'm also trying to keep track of which characters were mentioned that were like people from Maya's past, but some of the people from Maya's past are in the current timeline with the younger sister. So it does get kind of confusing because there are characters from like the different timelines that are the same character, and so it's like you're trying to keep track of that too. I don't know, for me it's like I've read a few books like this that like take place on a college campus and there's some kind of like secret society thing happening. Sometimes it works for me and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why for this one I feel like so far it's not really bringing anything new to the table. Like I feel like I've read books like this before. I feel like I do have a pretty good idea for like where the story's going, so I'm feeling like it's probably gonna end up being pretty predictable. I mean, gosh, I hope it's not. I don't know, part of me just really wants to DNF this if I'm being honest, but I think I am going to continue to read it because like I might as well. I'm already like a third of the way through, and the audiobook is not the worst to listen to. You know, they actually do have 2 different narrators for the sisters, even though it is kind of hard to tell them apart. I'm not gonna lie, like their voices are very similar, but I brought the book out into the world with me today, and I might as well just sit here and read it because I'm gonna be in this parking lot for a little bit. I'm currently at the doctor's office with my sister. I just wanted to be here today for this appointment with her, so I'm just gonna jump back in and I will let you know my thoughts when I finish it, if I finish it.
Remedy, lay your hands upon me, all of me. Say you will forever come to me. Remedy, sanity, lay your spark upon me, all of me. Say you will forever come to me. Sanity, carry on, let us run together.
Hi, hello, it is the next morning. I apologize if you can hear the dishwasher going in the background, but I wanted to update you because this morning I finished reading Society of Lies. I didn't really end up loving this one. Like, I am so hurt because Reese Witherspoon keeps picking like these thriller books that I'm really highly anticipating, and I feel like every single thriller that she's picked this year has been some of my least favorite thrillers of the whole year. How does this keep happening? I mean, if I'm learning anything about Reese Witherspoon's book club, is that we have completely opposite taste, I guess, when it comes to thrillers, because it sucks that this was like my most anticipated book that I was gonna be reading for this video, and then it ends up being only a 2-star. Like, I think I'm gonna end up giving this 2 stars. I just really didn't like this. Yes, there was an element of the ending that I thought was kind of interesting and that I didn't really see coming, but otherwise I feel like it was very predictable, and even by the time we got to the part that was kind of like twisty that I personally didn't see coming, it was like I didn't care enough about anything that was going on, because I don't know why, I feel like the writing in this, it really does just read like every single generic thriller ever, and it didn't really have anything new to say. And while there were some things that I did enjoy about this book, like I definitely did like, you know, the relationship that the sisters had and the way that, you know, she was trying to look out for her sister. I did enjoy that, but I also feel like I would so much rather read so many other books that have that like dark academia vibe, because I just don't think that this book was giving that much dark academia like it thought it was. There were so many parts of this book that actually reminded me so much of The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, which I do think that that book is a more interesting version of like what's happening in this book, but they are very similar, and I didn't end up liking either of these books very much. But this book also reminded me of like a number of different thrillers that I've read in the past, some that I won't mention because it could get into like spoilery territory for why it reminded me of these other thrillers. I feel like I would have been better off just DNFing this because I could feel it pretty early on that this was just not gonna be my thing. And it is crazy that me and Reese Witherspoon, like even though we both do, you know, read some mystery thrillers, it just seems like we have completely completely opposite taste when it comes to these books, because like First Lie Wins, one of my least favorite of the whole year. The Unwedding, one of my least favorite of the whole year. And now this one, I really didn't like this one either, so what the heck. It really actually makes me want to look back at like some of her previous thriller picks from before this year, and I have to see if I've ever enjoyed any thriller picks that she's ever had, because maybe this has been a running theme and I just never noticed. I am doing some reading sprints today on my Patreon, but I'm also gonna get some filming done today, so like I don't know how soon I'll be able to jump into the next thing, but when I do, I will let you know.
Maybe we're okay if we don't look too close into the mirror. Just do as they say and let it all go fall down.
Did you love it?
I loved it.
It was so good.
It was so good.
You love it?
Yeah, it was fucking.
That was amazing.
How long do we
10
have
out of
to
10.
wait?
Oh my god. Like I didn't even think I would like it, and I loved it.
Right?
I loved it.
I know. I just
10 out of 10.
Mom, I didn't know this song popular.
Oh yeah.
I
And
thought it was-
Defying Gravity.
Oh yeah, I knew Defying Gravity. I didn't know.
I didn't know it was that though
You
either.
didn't know it was
Yeah.
popular.
I didn't know it was either.
Popular. I thought it was from The Sound of Music or something.
I just thought it.
Hello, how's it going? It is now the next day. Last night was so amazing because me and my mom and my sister, we all went to the movies and we saw the movie Wicked, which I didn't even know if I wanted to go and see this movie, if I'm being honest, because I was like, I don't really know if it's gonna be my thing, and like musicals are always like hit or miss for me, and like I don't really know. And then my sister was like, no, like I really want you to go. And so I was like, okay, like I'll go. She kind of like dragged me along, and like holy shit, I think it was one of the best movies that I've seen this year. Like it was actually incredible. Ariana Grande was so fucking good in this movie, and like Cynthia Erivo, like oh my god, their vocals were insane, and like it was just such a fun movie to watch. Like I can't remember the last time that I went to the movie theater and had such a fun time. Like it was just so entertaining. The music was so good, the characters were so good, and like the character development was really great, and like wow, what a fucking movie. You know, like this is the kind of movie that you like go to the movie theaters for, you know what I mean? And this morning I have just been, you know, being really productive at home, like doing stuff on my laptop, and this entire morning I've been listening to We Will Be Jaguars on audio, and I'm now about 42% of the way through the audiobook, so I'm almost about halfway through it. And this is quite a long audiobook. I think the audiobook is like 13 or 14 hours long. And so far this audiobook is kind of like everything that I was expecting it to be, and even more, because you know, this is a non-fiction book and we're following this woman, and she's kind of talking about like her experience with her indigenous childhood, and then she's also talking about her fight for not only like climate change, but then she also specifically is fighting to save the Amazon rainforest and protect her people. So a lot of this non-fiction book so far has been a lot of like stories about her childhood and her upbringing, and like some of it has been pretty tough to read, as I was kind of, you know, expecting. I mean, it does include, you know, both the good and the bad from her childhood, but some of the things that are tougher to read are like really sad and really unfortunate. But it is also a very educational experience to be reading this book so far, because I don't often read a lot of nonfiction books, and especially not nonfiction books about climate change specifically, and about this tribe of people in Ecuador in the Amazon rainforest. Like I'm finding it to be very fascinating and very informative. I'm hoping to be able to finish listening to the rest of this afternoon. I just pulled up at the gym right now. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I think I'm gonna go to the gym, listen to this on audio, and then I have a few things that I need to get done today. I need to go and get gas in my car, and then I also need to get my like car license tabs renewed and get a few things at the grocery store and like do all the things. So I'm gonna continue listening to this on audio throughout the day. Hello, hi. It is many hours later, but I am here to update you because I just finished listening to Will Be Jaguars. I've had a very productive afternoon. I was able to go and do all of the things that I needed to do today, and then I also came home after the gym and I like washed my hair and I made a really good dinner, and it's been a really great day, and I'm really happy to report that this book ended up going very well. I mean, I did mention earlier how like I don't always rate the nonfiction books that I read because sometimes it feels like awkward to rate a nonfiction book, but I do think that if I were to rate this one, I think I would give this one 4.5 stars as well. Like, I thought this was really well done. Who knew that Reese Witherspoon would just like knock it out of the park with these nonfiction picks? I mean, maybe this is a sign that I should be reading more nonfiction because both of these nonfiction books ended up really working for me. And I think this one was especially powerful in like the last third of this audiobook. I mean, the only reason why I feel like I can't give it the full 5 stars is just because this audiobook is like 13 or 14 hours long, you know, as I mentioned, and it is a little bit long at times, like, and there were some parts that felt a little bit slow for me where it was like losing me a little bit, but it's also like, how do you really critique something like this, you know, because it's a nonfiction, it's about somebody's life. But this book was just really powerful. I especially loved, you know, in the last third of this book, I feel like there was a lot of really strong messages and a lot of really strong commentary to take away from this. And I actually feel like I just read this book at the perfect time, you know, because tomorrow is actually Thanksgiving here in the US. And, you know, this book does have a lot of commentary about white people stealing land and like taking things that they think that they're entitled to. Not only are indigenous people in their homes being put in harm's way, but then it's also about like the climate, you know, and like the earth that we share and like trying to better the earth and how these huge like oil companies will try to like take over land. So I think reading this around, you know, Thanksgiving was really timely. Like, I think it was the perfect time to read this, and I can definitely see why she chose this as the November book club pick, because I do think that this is the perfect time of year to read something like this. You know, it's like, it's very educational and it makes you think about like why we celebrate holidays like this. And it was very powerful listening to this audiobook. Like, there were a few moments where I got like full body chills when she said something because the narration style was just really well done as well. And there were so many great quotes, especially packed into that last chapter. Like, I really, really loved it. It ended so strongly. And then there was an author's note included at the end as well that I also feel was very powerful, and it kind of gave you more insight at the end for why this author wanted to share her story. And yeah, it was just really powerful. Like, I'm really glad that I ended up reading this one because I don't know, with either of these nonfiction books, like I definitely would have never picked up either one of these books on my own. So like, very cool that it's going so well at the end of this Reese Witherspoon series. I don't really know, to be honest, if I've read too much of Reese Witherspoon's nonfiction book club picks in the past. It makes me curious though to definitely check out more of her nonfiction stuff because it seems like nonfiction so far is where me and Reese align the most with what we want to read in nonfiction. And I'm glad to report that this vlog is going so well. Like, this vlog is definitely the best round of reading Reese's book club picks for the entire year, because in most of the other vlogs I was not liking anything that I was reading except for like one book. So this is fantastic that I've had 2 books that I'm giving 4.5 stars. So the only book I have left to read for this vlog is City of Nightbirds, which I did realize that I do have access to this audiobook through Libro FM. Like, I don't know why I didn't even notice that. It was provided by Libro FM as an ALC. So like, I'm really looking forward to listening to this one as well. I'm actually really scared though to read this one because I do think it's a little bit like historical fiction. I think it involves this girl who's like a ballet dancer in Russia. So hopefully we will end this vlog and this entire series on a positive note, but only time will tell. I'll see you once I get started.
And you ever wonder days like these last with one another. With the feeling past. Would you find out with me if it all starts to crumble?
Wow, that's a plate.
or search the pieces.
Hi, hello. It has been a couple of days since I last updated you. In these last couple of days, I spent Thanksgiving with my family and it was so amazing and the food was so good, and just getting to spend time with my family around the holiday season, I never take it for granted. It was just a really lovely Thanksgiving. And since I have been trying to read City of Nightbirds, but unfortunately I only got about 25% of the way through this one on audio before I decided to DNF it. And I know I'm so sorry to end this entire series on a DNF, but also, you know, I do give myself the opportunity to DNF one of the books every single video if I'm not enjoying it, and this one just really feels like it's not going to be for me. I mean, the premise of this book is that we're following this woman who is a ballerina in Russia, and in this story we're kind of getting two different timelines because it's about how she's like returning to the world of ballet after some time away because she had this accident, and she was like once one of the best dancers of her generation, and now she's just at a point where she's like drinking every day and she's just really not doing well mentally, but then she gets a chance to come back to the stage. So you're kind of reading about her life before the accident happened, and then you're also reading about her life in the present day. And this is just really not for me, mainly because I'm not a big historical fiction fan in general, and this is reading like very much historical fiction. And then it also, like, I just don't really care about reading about dancers very much either, especially like ballet. Like, if there was any type of dance that I would be interested in reading about, it's definitely not ballet. Then also, when I checked on Goodreads right now, this book is averaging a 2.96 out of 5 on Goodreads, which is just like a very bad sign to me overall in general. But I think it's also because this book is a lot about, you know, like romanticizing Russia and like what it's like living in Russia, and I feel like a lot of people are very uncomfortable with that considering like the current state of the world and what Russia's currently up to. So like, I don't think I'm interested in continuing this book for several different reasons. I'm just not invested in the story at 25% in. Like, I could not give a single crap about anything that's going on. So I think for my sake, I'm gonna DNF this one. I mean, ironically enough though, this is the episode out of the 3 Reese Witherspoon reading vlogs that I've had this year that was the most successful. I mean, if you look at the stats, like I had 2 books for this video that I'm giving 4.5 stars. So I feel like that alone is a huge win. And even though the one that I was looking forward to the most, Society of Lies, ended up being a flop, I mean, hey, at least I had some wins with the nonfiction books from Reese. I mean, that's cool. And so if we look at this year as a whole, with like all the books that I've read for her book club this year, I mean, we definitely had some wins, you know, like I found some of my favorite books of this entire year doing this video series. And I mean, to be fair, these are books that I probably would have picked up on my own anyway for the most part. I mean, Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell was already one of my most anticipated books of the entire year. And then the most fun we ever had was a backlist book that I still owned that I had on my TBR for like so many years. So I'm really glad that Reese's book club, you know, really pushed me to finally read the most fun we ever had because I loved it so much, and it's like in my top favorites of this whole year. I did end up having a couple of DNFs throughout this year and a lot of 2 stars, like a lot of 2-star books. I would say overall that doing this experiment was a success for the most part. Like, I would call it a success because I read so many books that I probably never would have picked up on my own otherwise. And even though some of these books were disappointing, like these are probably books that I would have been picking up on my own anyway. And some of the books on this list that ended up being disappointing, like these are books that I would have picked up on my own anyway. Especially a lot of the thrillers on this list, like these were books that I would have actually seeked out on my own and read on my own time. I think where me and Reese Witherspoon have the biggest difference in taste is when it comes to like the historical fiction stuff, because most of that ended up being what I was DNFing throughout the year. Like, I'm just not a historical fiction fan. Then we also, surprisingly, we really do align when it comes to nonfiction. Like, I really liked the 2 nonfiction books that she had this year, and I'll be really curious, you know, going forward next year, if Reese Witherspoon does have some nonfiction picks, then maybe I'll be more eager to pick up those books because I know that her and I really align with our taste when it comes to nonfiction. I'm also realizing more than ever that me and Reese do not have the same taste when it comes to thriller books. I feel like after this year, I can definitely see that. Looking back on it, I think the only thriller that I've loved that's been a Reese Witherspoon book club pick is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I think that might be the only one. So for the most part, me and Reese Witherspoon have completely different taste when it comes to thrillers, which is totally okay. At least now I know. So that's gonna be a wrap on reading Reese Witherspoon book club picks for the whole year of 2024. You have no idea how happy it makes me to complete this video series that I've been working on all year. And with that being said, I think next year I would like to continue this series, but with maybe another celebrity book club, you know, because I don't think I'm gonna be reading Reese Witherspoon's book club picks for the year of 2025. I don't think I'm gonna do the same video series again, but I think what I would like to do is read either Good Morning America has a book club that I could read and do 3 vlogs for throughout the year next year. I mean, these were some of their picks in the year of 2024, and I feel like Good Morning America had so many books that I was really interested in reading, and they had some of my, you know, favorite books of the entire year, like Just for the Summer, or I'm thinking of maybe doing Read with Jenna. I don't know exactly who Jenna is. I think she's like the host of the Today Show, but she also has a really popular book club, and these were her picks for the year of 2024. And I mean, as you can see from her list, she also has a number of books that I was really interested in reading, as well as some of my favorite top books of the year, like Blue Sisters and The Wedding People. I'm so torn on whether or not next year I would like to do Good Morning America's book club or Read with Jenna's book club. I'm debating whether or not I should put it up to a vote, maybe on my community tab soon. So keep an eye out for that. I might actually do that and just kind of get your feedback on which one you would like to see more. But that could be a thing happening next year. I could try to take on another celebrity book club and do an entire video like this, and then maybe compare the celebrity book clubs and see which one my taste aligns the most with. So let me know if that's something that you would like to see from me. Also, if you participated at all this year in reading Reese Witherspoon's book club picks, let me know how it went for you, and how many of Reese's book club picks did you get around to reading this year, and what did you think of them? Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!